This video is for IB Digital Society students who are preparing for their Digital Society external exam. And today's focus is going to be on the content area 3.7 robots and autonomous technologies. Now, I've got a website here called ibdigitalsociety.com, and if you go to the blog, this is the first one here. I created it on April 9th, but I've been updating it a lot since. So if you visited this blog post already, I'd recommend you go visit it again because I've added a lot more resources there. So this is the blog post that I'd like to talk you through today and just really help you prepare for the examination for 3.7 robotics and autonomous technologies. So just first of all, a little bit of an overview of what I've got here. So first of all, I've listed all the different topics and the key topics. But once I did that, I thought, hang on, I think the students need a little bit more help how to actually do like a deep dive into all the topics, and also some ways how to explore the actual topics so that the content is really fresh in your mind and easily accessible when you're sitting in the exam room. So I've got a lot of resources here, but also some study guides. So I'm actually trying this, the aim of this video is to help you study for the exam. So first of all, for 3.7a, this is the different types of robots and autonomous technologies. So what I've got here in the blue is just a bunch of questions. So for anything to do with 3.7a, what I recommend you doing is getting the topic or the key word and then answering these 5 questions. Now, the best way to prepare is just try and answer them first of all from the top of your head. It's kind of like the examining your pre-existing knowledge. And sometimes you'll probably know the answer, and that's great, move on. But if you don't know the answer, then you've identified a gap in your understanding. So this means you need a little bit further exploration. So try to answer those questions to start with yourself, and then if you don't know the answers, throw them into an AI tool, some sort of a generative AI chat, and get some answers to fill in the gaps in your knowledge. Okay, so the 5 main questions, first of all, is basically define and explain. Next one is outline how the actual technology works. This is pretty important. Quite often in the exams, there'll be some kind of a question about how some kind of digital technology works. Now, if you're ever stuck for this, just remember there's 3 main components for understanding how digital technology works or some kind of technology. First of all, you've got the input, and that might be some data that a person puts into a system, or it might be some sensors that detect data. So there's the input, and then there's the processing, that's part 2, and then there's the output. So if you're ever stuck in the exam room and not sure what to write when a question's asked about how certain technology works, just remember input, processing, output, and you should be able to get a few marks. Okay, so next one. So that's number 2, how the digital technology works. Next question is number 3, which is about characteristics. This is a very popular IB exam question. Often students are asked to identify 2, 3, 4 key characteristics of a specific technology. So be ready to identify some key characteristics of whatever the digital technology is being presented in the exam question. Next one is real-life examples. This demonstrates depth of knowledge. So you may know how some kind of technology works, but do you have a real-life example of where this technology is actually being used? So that's question 4. And this is another popular exam question. Question 5 is about some advantages and disadvantages of that digital technology. So they're the 5 questions. Now, what I've done here is I've kind of modeled the first section is about 3.78 types of robots and autonomous technologies. So this whole area of study is in 3.78 about the types of robots and autonomous technologies. The first one that is mentioned in 3.7a is industrial and productivity robots. So I'm just going to model what to do with some AI tools and how I actually got all of these answers. So first of all, open up your favorite AI tool. I'm going to use Perplexity just for this demonstration. So first of all, when you're using AI tools, be sure to share a little bit of context. I am an IBDP Digital Society student, and I need help preparing for exams. Answer answer these questions. Now, the questions I'm talking about are these 5. So these are the 5 questions. Now, the topic to focus on is, and this one is industrial and productivity robots. So if you can pop that in there, the topic to focus on is industrial and productivity robots. So answer those 5 questions in relation to industrial and productivity robots. Let's press that button and see what happens. Okay, Perplexity has taken a little bit of time, which I don't mind, because the longer the AI tool takes, usually the better the response. So it is focused. It's given me a definition and an explanation of industrial robots. Terrific. Now it also talks about how industrial robots work step by step. That's fantastic. Now it's listing the key characteristics. Great. It's given me some real life examples. Excellent. Listing some advantages and listing some disadvantages. So that is basically what I did as an example for the first one here. So here is the definition and an explanation. Here is an outline of how this technology actually works. Here are the key characteristics. Here are some real life examples, and here are some advantages and disadvantages of that technology. So if you go through if you're able to go through the key term and cover those 5 areas, you're going to be well prepared for your IB exams. Now it's your turn. So these are the 5 questions. Now it's time. We've already done industrial and productivity robots. Now it's time to do service robots. Answer those 5 questions. Now it's time to do social robots. Answer the 5 questions. IoT, answer the 5 questions, and I think you get the idea. Autonomous vehicles, drones, virtual assistants. So they're all the key terms for 3.7a. Now, for 3.7b, the 5 questions are pretty much the same, but the topics now are, the key topics are the inputs. So what are the sensory inputs for spatial, environmental, and operational awareness? So this is the first stage. So this is the input stage of a robot. Next one is the ability to logically reason with inputs. So the input comes in from the autonomous vehicle or robot, and then how does the system logically reason with the inputs? Next bit, the ability to interact and move in a physical environment. So this is the output. Then demonstration of some degree of autonomy. So you need to have a good understanding of what autonomy actually is. And probably the best way to explore this one, I'd be doing autonomous vehicles, because there's actually a very clear level. There's different levels of autonomy when it comes to autonomous vehicles, all the way from no autonomy all the way to complete self-driving cars where there's no human interaction, and there's very specific levels. So they're the new areas. That's 3.7b to study. Now the 5 questions are pretty much the same, but what I've changed question 1. I've said identify, define, and explain the digital technology in question. How does the technology work? Yeah, they're very, very much the same. Okay, moving on to 3.7c. And this is now the evolution of robots and autonomous technologies. Now, I've only got 4 questions for this section. The first one is identify and explain the digital technology in question. The next one is how does the technology work? Third one, real life examples. And I don't have any characteristics here because it's about the evolution of robots and autonomous technology. So characteristics don't really fit into this. So there's only 4 questions. So here's my example answers to those 4 questions, and now it's your turn. So the main areas. So first of all, the first topic, early forms of robots and autonomous technology, robots in science fiction, use in industry and manufacturing. Now, as you can see, I've just given a very brief definition and example. Now, if you're really short of time, if you just understand what all of these words mean and you've got an example, that's great. But if you've got a little bit extra time, this is when you want to dig a bit more deeper. Okay, 3.7d. This section here is about dilemmas related to robots and autonomous technologies. And as you'll see, I've only got 3 questions because this is a little bit more higher level thinking. So first of all is define and explain the technology. Now I've said the phenomenon. So what is, explain the digital technology phenomenon in question. The first topic is anthropomorphism, that's hard for me to say, and the uncanny valley. So that is the digital technology phenomenon, which is another word that's hard to say, phenomenon. So what is, just explain what that phenomenon is. Then I'd be suggesting you explore real life examples of the specific phenomenon. And then this one is definitely higher level thinking, because what I'm asking now, is there any research, significant research in this field? If so, what has it revealed? Are there any key philosophies or ideas or thoughts in relation to this? And what about key people, key thinkers, key leaders as well? So this is high level thinking, and you're really going to develop a depth of knowledge if you find some answers and understand that third question. So here again, I've given an example of the uncanny valley and anthropomorphism. So I've explained it. I've got some real life examples. And so when I've asked for key philosophies and researchers, there's some key people. Now this lady, Sherry Turkle, she pops up a lot in digital society. So if anything, I would recommend you learn a little bit about Sherry Turkle, because you'll be able to answer quite a few IB questions, digital society questions. Some of these 8-mark and 12-mark questions, if you can bring in some theories about Sherry Turkle, I'd recommend learning about her. Some more key philosophies. So that is, you don't have time to memorize, you don't have time to learn all about all of these philosophies and key thinkers, but just pick out a couple that you can access, that you're able to access when you're sitting in that exam room, and you can talk about neurological basis or Sherry Turkle or post-humanism. So if you can draw in some of these theories, it'll demonstrate a depth of knowledge and higher order thinking. Okay, so those 3 questions, these are the main areas for 3.7D, and it's the bit more challenging one. We've already talked about anthropomorphism and the uncanny valley. Next one is the complexities of human and the environmental interactions. Next one is uneven and undeveloped laws, regulations, and governance. Now, this one pops up a lot, so just be aware. When technology is developed, it seems to develop faster than laws and regulations and governance. So technology moves, and then the government catches up, and the laws and the policies. So that's a simple answer that can apply to lots of different technology. Anyway, they're the areas that you need to study. Now, after this, if you've got more time, I've got a list here of case studies. So if you could explore, I wouldn't recommend exploring all of them. So just explore some of the ones that are interesting to you. So for example, Boston Dynamics, they're a super famous robotics organization. So I'd recommend learning a little bit about Boston Dynamics. The Da Vinci surgical system is very, very famous and very significant in the health context, so I'd recommend learning a bit about this. And there's a lot here. I've got 3, 4, 5. I've got a lot of different case studies. Again, you can't study them all, so just pick out a few that is of interest to you, and you'll be well prepared. You'll be really well prepared for the exam. Now, next section. After I've got a few different case studies, I've actually got a new section here which is called terminology, or a glossary. And this is because every year I have at least one student who asks me for some kind of a terminology glossary. So I've added this in just for them. The next section I've got is also going back to characteristics, because it pops up on so many exam papers, characteristics of specific technology. So I've used AI tools to help me identify some of the characteristics of all the key technology related to robots and autonomous vehicle. That's this section here. And then last of all, to help prepare you for your exam, I've actually got some exam questions. Now these are all just exam questions that use the AO1 command terms. And so just imagine these are like 2, 3, or 4 mark questions. So these are short, sharp ones just to try and help you prepare for those 2, 3, or 4 mark questions. And that's it. That's it for robotics. So I've given you some information here, but my quest was more about how to help you prepare. If I just list lots of information, it's really not going to sink in. But if I list some information and then ask you to go and start to research yourself, you're going to learn a lot more about it. So this is how I've created this blog post, and I'd like to wish you good luck for your exams.